Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and today I'd like to talk to you about a trend that I'm noticing in my Social Security practice. It's somewhat of a disturbing trend, but I think it's something you need to be aware of because as you work your case through the system, this is something you're going to notice, and again, if you have a little bit of advance warning, it's probably something you can maybe figure out a way to address. And here's the trend, and that is that I'm noticing it's becoming more and more difficult for me to get forms and support from the doctors that treat my clients. And I think there's several reasons for this. One is that there is a noticeable decline in the number of free or low-cost medical provider sources out there. In other words, in 5-10 years ago, there were a number of county or sometimes charity funded medical providers that would offer low cost or no cost treatment. A lot of the counties offered medical care or mental health care for free or for no cost, and people could see therapists, they could see psychiatrists, they get treatment if it was medical or orthopedic or neurological. They could see doctors fairly regularly, get decent treatments, and also for me, I could request forms. I could request functional capacity forms from these doctors. I could request statements on the listing, other commentaries from the doctors would help me convince the judge that my client's capacity to work had been very much reduced. And a lot of those sources have dried up. They just don't exist anymore. So what happens is when I'm looking at a case, a lot of times I'll have medical records. Sometimes the continuity of those records is reduced a little bit, meaning that my client simply can't afford to go, or there's no available treatment more than once or twice a year. And obviously it's much better to have monthly treatment than twice a year treatment. But even with that, you can still win if you have the doctor willing to fill out a form for you. And it used to be doctors would do that. Now sometimes they want a lot of money to do it. Sometimes they just don't want to do it at all. I'll get this. I don't want to get involved in these cases, that type of thing. And this is especially true if you need to see a specialist, because trying to get a specialist care if you don't have any insurance can be very, very difficult. And even if you can get low-cost care, the specialists are just too busy, or they're just not willing to fill out these forms for us. So what happens is we go into court and we have a medical record that is not quite as robust as I would like, and I don't have a form. So I'm relying on my client's testimony and the judge's reading of the medical record to hopefully come to a conclusion my client cannot work. And I think some of the judges are aware of this, but some of the judges are not. And I think this is, again, somewhat disturbing. Some of the judges just expect these forms to be there, and if they're not, they don't feel the medical record's complete. Some judges feel like if the medical record is not very, very thorough and robust, then there must not be something must not be totally wrong with my client. Again, some of the judges recognize that the problem is money, not so much motivation or interest in getting care. But this is something that we're having to try to educate our judges about, and I'm telling my clients to explain to the judge that the problem is not that he or she does not want to get treatment, but that he or she cannot afford treatment. I'll give you an example of a case I actually tried today. This is a fibromyalgia case. I thought it was a pretty good case. My client was very credible. She had a 4-year college degree. She had a number of fairly skilled positions, managerial type of positions, and she's now 37. And about 2 or 3 years ago, her fibromyalgia condition got so bad that the pain and the fatigue and the side effects of medication simply would not let her work anymore. And I've had a number of cases like this. This was actually a pretty good one because, again, she came across as being very, very credible. She had a very long, consistent work history, and she had gone to the doctor even to the point of paying her doctor, her pain medicine doctor, out of her own pocket because insurance only covered a certain number of visits. So again, very, very credible. But I was not able to get the pain management physician to fill out a functional capacity form, and more importantly, she had not been able to afford to see a rheumatologist, which in a fibromyalgia case can be very important. In fact, what she told me was that the rheumatologist in her area, she lives not in Atlanta, but in one of the towns about 100 miles from Atlanta, that she was not able to find a rheumatologist in her town or in her vicinity to treat her because, again, a lot of these doctors are very reluctant to take certain types of insurance. They don't like to take private pay, so she didn't have a rheumatologist. So we get to the hearing, we presented the case. She did a really good job in explaining what the problems were and how much she was suffering and how the side effects of medications were affecting her and so forth. And then at the end of the hearing, the judge says, well, the consultative evaluation we have here is just not very good. I'm going to send send you out, I'm going to send the claimant out for a consultative evaluation with a rheumatologist. And that's fine. And again, I appreciate the judge doing that. Of course, I don't know what kind of rheumatologist the judge is going to send her to. I don't know if this rheumatologist will be supportive or not. But certainly it would have been better if we had control of that, if my client had her own rheumatologist that we could send her to who'd fill out the form. I'd feel much more comfortable because I'd feel like, okay, this is someone who knows my client, supports her, it's a treating physician, and really the judge would have no choice but to approve the case if that rheumatologist was supportive. Instead, what we have is an unknown doctor, a rheumatologist, who's going to look at my client's records and meet her one time. If he's supportive, we win. If he's not supportive, we don't win. And again, this is a case that really should be approved, but because we're not able to get the right kind of specialist, we're having to rely on hopefully the court sending her to somebody who is who believes her, who'll give her a fair listen. So that's kind of the trend, what's going on. And I told her, I said, one of the things we may need to do is if you go to the doctor and the consultative doctor that Social Security sends you to, and you don't feel you got a fair evaluation, then we may need to send you to a rheumatologist 100 miles away just to get another evaluation, because again, the judge is going to go with whatever this doctor says unless we have something compelling otherwise. So the point here, I guess, is that if you are treating with a doctor, it's very important to try to get that doctor to agree to fill out a form. If you need to see a specialist, you may have to come out of pocket, make a difficult decision to come out of pocket to see a specialist. I've told clients sometimes that even if you go twice a year, that's enough to establish a treating physician relationship, and a strong form of functional capacity or statement of the listing form from a treating doctor is going to be given a lot of weight, usually controlling weight, and it can make a big difference. And since some of these judges are not aware that people are not going to the doctor because of money issues, and those money issues have gotten substantially worse over the last 2 or 3 years, that you could take a case that otherwise should be approved, and it may not be approved through really no fault of the claimant. So that's the trend I'm noticing. And again, the solution to it would be to be prepared to pay for medical treatment to get the right form, and to make sure that your doctor is supportive of you and will complete a form. So I hope this has been helpful. This is Jonathan Ginsberg. Please feel free to contact me. Contact information is on this page, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.